Daniel Marcel looked through the curtains and went pale.
Ethan, take your sister and run to Mr. Callahan's backyard. Stay hidden no matter what you hear.
Within the logs and stay hidden no matter what you hear. Now, go! It was close to midnight when headlights flooded their small apartment. Ethan had been awake beside Daisy, who slept clutching a stuffed rabbi. Outside, car doors slammed simultaneously. Before that night, rain had meant warm soup on the stove to Ethan, his mother humming softly in the kitchen, and his little sister Daisy pressing her nose against the window, counting lightning flashes. But now, the rain only reminded him of blood, his parents' blood, running across wet concrete, living devastation in its trail. The Mercers lived on the edge of a dying industrial town where everyone minded their business. Ethan's father, Daniel Mercer, worked long nights hauling freight trucks across state lines. At least, that was what Ethan had believed he did for most of his life. Then his mother got sick. Not a cold or something simple. It started with coughing, then daily hospital visits, which stacked up unpaid bills hidden beneath the microwave. Ethan often heard his parents whispering after midnight. "You needs better treatment now," his father said. "We can't keep doing this, Daniel," his mother whispered back. "Those people are dangerous." One evening, Ethan woke up thirsty and heard something he was never supposed to hear. "I'm done with the cartel," his father said. The word cartel sounded poisonous in the dark. "You can't just leave," his mother warned. "I don't care anymore. They promised me a decent and better job years ago. Oh, I won't continue to drag this family deeper into hell." Silence followed. His mother sat down quietly, crying subtly. 3 days later, everything fell apart. It was close to midnight when headlights flooded their small apartment. Ethan had been awake beside Daisy, who slept clutching a stuffed rabbit. Outside, car doors slammed. "Scary!" His father looked through the curtains and went pale. "Ethan," he whispered sharply, "take your sister and run to Mr. Callahan's backyard. Stay hidden no matter what you hear." "What's happening, Dad?" "Now!" There was terror in his father's voice Ethan had never heard before. He grabbed Daisy's hand and slipped out the back door into the freezing rain. Mud soaked his socks as they crossed the fence into the neighbor's yard. Behind the old shed lay stacked logging timber covered by a tarp. Ethan pulled Daisy behind the wet logs and wrapped his arms around her trembling body. From there, he could see the Mercer house glowing faintly through the storm. Then the men came. Black SUVs, dark jackets, guns shining beneath the porch light. One man stepped forward slowly, calm as death itself. Ethan recognized him. Victor Salazar. He had visited their house twice before claiming to be his father's business partner. But now his smile was gone. The front door burst open. His father was dragged outside first. Even through the rain, Ethan could hear shouting. "I did everything you asked!" "You tried to leave," Salazar replied coldly. "My wife is dying." "That's not our problem." Daisy tried to cry out, but Ethan covered her mouth tightly. Their mother stumbled onto the porch, screaming, "Please, please, don't do this in front of the children!" One of the gunmen struck her hard enough to knock her onto the steps. Ethan's entire body shook violently behind the logs. Every instinct told him to run to them, but fear nailed him in place. His father looked around desperately, looking for them, his children. Then Daniel Mercer did something Ethan would remember forever. He smiled faintly toward the darkness beyond the yard, as if he knew both of them were safe somewhere behind the log, as if he was bidding him farewell. The gunshots exploded through the storm. Daisy buried her face against Ethan's chest. Ethan could not breathe. More shots followed. Then silence. The rain kept falling. One of the men suddenly turned toward the backyard. Ethan froze. The gunman stared directly toward the log pile for one horrifying second. Ethan thought they've been discovered. But Salazar called out, "Let's go." The SUVs disappeared into the night moments later. Ethan stayed hidden for nearly an hour, holding Daisy while the rain drenched them both. His legs had gone numb. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. When he finally stepped out from behind the logs, the world no longer felt real. Red and blue police lights painted the street. Neighbors stood outside whispering. Paramedics moved silently beneath white sheets. Ethan saw his father's hand uncovered near the driveway. Still, lifeless. Daisy began screaming. But Ethan made no sound at all, because deep inside him, something had frozen forever while hiding at the backyard behind the logs, the place where his childhood ended. 10 years after the Mercer massacre, the name Ethan Mercer was forever erased. In the border city of Tijuana, people knew him as Gabriel Reyes, the young quiet boy with dead eyes, with unreadable expression. His uncle Mateo raised him far from America's reach in a weather-beaten mechanic shop near the edge of the city. Mateo had once been involved with smugglers himself before disappearing after the death of his sister, Ethan's mother, the Mercer massacre. Every morning before sunrise, Mateo trained the boy like survival was religion. "How do you beat monsters?" Mateo once asked, while teaching 12-year-old Ethan how to disassemble a pistol. "You kill them first," Ethan answered. Mateo shook his head. "No. You become patient enough to outlive them, but patience comes at a cost." Ethan. As Ethan grew older, the nightmares worsened. Rainstorms triggered panic attacks. The smell of wet wood made his hands shake uncontrollably. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his father smiling into the darkness before the gunshots. Stay safe. Ethan. That smile haunted him more than the murders themselves. By 19, Ethan spoke flawless Spanish, knew cartel routes across the border, and could disappear into crowds like smoke. Mateo noticed something terrifying growing inside him. Hatred. Bitterness had become purpose. One night, Mateo found Ethan sitting alone in the garage, staring at an old newspaper clipping from America. Cartel execution leaves family dead.
They murdered my family, and if revenge is all you have become, then they murdered you too.
Ethan said nothing, because deep down he already knew his uncle was right. But he could not stop. The rain was falling again when Special Agent Gabriel Reyes walked into the Federal Narcotics Division in Los Angeles. This was Ethan Mercer wearing a new outlook. Now, Gabriel Reyes. At 22, Ethan had become one of the youngest undercover narcotics detectives recruited into a covert joint task force targeting cartel operations spreading like wildfire through the American Southwest. His superiors admired him because of his invincibility. He could infiltrate criminal networks faster than anyone else. Cold, controlled, brilliant. What they didn't know was this. Ethan wasn't chasing justice. He was hunting praise, revenge, Victor Salazar, Luis Ortega, and then the men at the driveway whose faces he internalized. Men who left his mother bleeding in the rain. His first major undercover assignment placed him inside a trafficking pipeline connected to the Salazar organization itself, the same cartel. Fate had opened the door for Ethan. Inside the criminal world, he became someone else entirely. Unknown, unrecognized by men in charge of systems. They trusted him quickly because Ethan understood predators better than ordinary cops ever could. He knew how killers talked, their thought pattern, how they moved, and how fear smelled. During an operation inside a nightclub in San Diego, Ethan heard the name he had been waiting for, Victor Salazar. Still running operations from the shadows. The room suddenly felt smaller. A cartel lieutenant leaned close and whispered, "Be careful. Reyes, no man sees boss. Work as instructed and we'll be fine." Ethan took a slow sip of whiskey. "I'm good with that." The deeper Ethan went undercover, the harder it was to draw the line between where Gabriel Reyes ended and Ethan Mercer began. He changed completely, his appearance, style, and his daily routine. He became ruthless, constantly manipulated informants, kill without question asked, watched people die without intervening to protect his identity. He had gotten accustomed to brutality, and that terrifies him. One night after a brutal raid, Ethan stood alone in his apartment staring at his bloodied knuckles. Not his blood, someone else's. His reflection in the mirror looked eerily similar to Victor Salazar's cold expression from years ago. For the first time in his life, Ethan wondered, what if becoming the hunter means becoming the monster too? At 2:13 a.m., a call unknown number. Ethan answered cautiously. Silence. Then a calm, older voice spoke in Spanish. "I love your undercover tactics, Ethan." Ethan stared at the phone in shock. The muscle in his body locked instantly. Only 3 people alive knew that name. His uncle, his sister Daisy, and Victor Salazar. Ethan slowly reached for the pistol beneath the table. The voice chuckled softly. "You are Daniel's little boy, hiding behind the logs." Salazar said coldly, "I've looked for you for years now, only to find you within our organization." Thunder cracked outside his apartment. Then Salazar said the words that shattered Ethan completely. "Your sister is alive, and know where to find her." And then the call disconnected. At that point, Ethan Mercer realized his nightmare was only beginning. If you enjoyed this psychologically thrilling and exciting story, kindly subscribe to Dark End Stories.